Well, hey there, it's Elke.
And Jen, and in today's episode of the Creative and Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast, we are talking about tips for self-care for the thriving creative entrepreneur.
And what are we going to talk about?
Yeah, so let's dive deep into the topics of this podcast. So, we're going to talk about why self care and a routine for self care will help you become more successful as an entrepreneur, when you should do this self care routine, and what are 4 things that you can do right away to get into a self care routine that will help you thrive in your creative online business.
Yeah, as creative entrepreneurs online, we're basically in our pajamas all day and sitting on the couch, some sort of lounge chair, and all of a sudden like the entire day's gone, right? Have you ever had that happen to you? It's happened to us.
It's not every day like that, but
No.
definitely there are some days where we can just be stuck on the computer all day long and the hours seem to go by like that, right? And it's super quick and we realize that we actually haven't even gotten up from wherever we've been sitting.
Yeah, that's not healthy, and it's not good for your own self care. And what we really want you to hear out of this message that we're going to give to you today in the podcast is you can do this for a while by like sacrificing everything else just to get that extra sale online or to build your business and grow it a little bit more. But if you're not doing this for the long haul, then unfortunately at one point you're going to crash and burn. And what we want you to do is stay healthy and also be the most effective at your ability to run your business every day. And that requires some balance. And the balance here is to do a self-care routine in addition to anything you do to run your actual business and grow your business. So let's dive into the original, I'm already sort of touched a little bit on why you need self-care, but let's go further into that.
Okay, so why do you need self-care? Self-care is extremely important because, first of all, as an online entrepreneur, you are your business's main asset, right? You are the most important thing in your business because if you aren't functioning or if you're not putting up your A game or there on the computer doing the work, your business probably will most likely not run. The one thing that's amazing about Zazzle is that we can build up our business and we can definitely have off days because that's the reason why we create our Zazzle business is to have time freedom, and we definitely can take time off and make money while we're taking time off. But you need to make sure that on a consistent basis you are functioning and you are like 100% perfectly in good health in your mental and physical health because you need to be the person who's running your business. You need to be there in the forefront doing things. And if you're not able to do that, then your business will definitely suffer in the long run.
Yeah, you can't slack off.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
every decision you make, every action or every inaction that you do or don't do is going to affect your business, and that's kind of like puts a stress on you a little bit, right? So first of all, it feels overwhelming sometimes to have all of that responsibility, but if you had a good self-care routine, then you'd be able to approach all of those stresses that come with running an online entrepreneur business in a much better way, a more calm and healthy way, and you wouldn't go into extremes of like the weird. What I'm trying to say is like you wouldn't stress out as much. You would take things as calmly as as if you're like a yoga Zen master, and nothing would faze you. And even though that may sound ridiculous, it's actually the best way to handle a business because you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have things that come at you out of nowhere, and you're going to have to not spend so much time dealing with the emotion that comes with it and also the stresses that come with that. You want to just work through it and do the best you can and keep your business moving forward. And so when you do the self-care routine that we're going to suggest to you, you're going to be in that mindset, in that state. And then ultimately, the other part of it is physically, you have to be able to still manage to work those hours and to take that extra time, especially when you're starting out your business. You kind of overcompensate by working more hours and longer hours, and also maybe you're not used to working on the computer and now you are, especially if you're like doing a lot of work to post products. Like we work on Zazzle, so we're constantly on the computer posting more products for sale. Even though it's a passive online business, there's times where you're working really hard on the computer, and to physically be just sitting in one spot constantly working on the computer, not getting up and moving, those have health consequences, and you need to be able to take breaks and set boundaries in terms of how much time you're going to spend on either one of those things.
Yeah. And I think also, well, we can definitely tell you some of our own personal experiences from that, where we've been on the computer and we have not moved, or we haven't gotten up, or we've been on, for the computer for so long that our eyes are starting to hurt, and you need to take care of yourself because
I know we laugh now, but it's serious, actually. It's serious. So if this is happening to you, to pay attention.
Yes, definitely. And so not the first thing, but the thing that is most important here is that not only is your physical health important, your mental health is important. And as an online entrepreneur and being on the computer, sort of in a solo act, so to speak, sitting at home on the computer doing designs, it can get a little bit lonely, and it can be very lonesome working, and that can affect your mental state. And we can listen to as much music as we can, or try and watch as many Netflix shows as we can, or speak to our family members if we're fortunate enough to have people living with us. But sometimes it's just very lonely, and that can affect us deep down in places that we don't even really understand or can conceptualize. And to make sure that sort of area of our brain is okay and functioning at 100%, which is your mental health, which is so important. You need to take some time to do the recharge, to do a reboost, to make sure that you are in the proper state where you are, making good decisions and actually being able to be creative. And as creatives too, we're so affected by our mental health and by emotions and being either overwhelmed or confused or scared even in certain situations, and that can affect our creative abilities. And it's just extremely important to make sure that we are in the proper positive mental state, because it affects our work and it affects our designs, and ultimately that affects your sales. And you want to make sure that you're obviously making money and you're building a business that works for you. And if you're not, what I'm speaking about is in their mental state. If you're not in a mental state that's in a good place, then that will ultimately not be the best situation for you.
Yeah, you can start to, your mind starts to play tricks on you, and you start to go more into the negative and so on. And that's not what we want for you, but if you're coming from a day job where someone says to you, do this, and this, and then at 5 o'clock you can leave, and it doesn't matter because someone else is actually being responsible for it, and now all of a sudden all this weight is on your shoulders, and you're not completely, you don't have a business degree, so you're not really sure what to do with your business and how to manage it in the first place, then it can be quite overwhelming initially when you just make this decision. You go, I'm going to sell my art online, or my photography, or my graphic designs, and then all of a sudden you realize, holy smokes, that also means I have to figure out what I should actually put on each of the products for sale. I have to figure out how I'm going to make a certain amount of money every month. And what do I do? Do I make this decision or make this decision? And how will that all affect what's going to happen a year from now? And it's I'm already stressed, and I know what I'm doing. Yeah. So this is the thing that's really important for you to understand is, if you come at it with a good mental and physical state, which is your self-care that you're going to do, and that will result in that, like a nice Zen state for your mindset, and also a healthy balance for food and exercise, then you're definitely going to be able to handle all of those things that are required for you to run your business successfully. Okay, so when should we be doing the self-care?
We would like to in a perfect world, in a perfect situation, you should do something every single day to take care of yourself and have a self-care routine. It doesn't have to be hours of you doing things. It can just be even 10 minutes or a couple minutes here and there during the day. Get up and do some stretches, or go for a walk, or, take a nice bath or a hot shower, do some journaling. We're going to give you some examples in a moment, but I want to express to you that it doesn't have to be a set of 3 hours where you're in the gym or you're going for a marathon run. You just have to have a couple minutes here and there to sort of zen out, recharge, reboost, and take a couple minutes for yourself. But as I said, potentially you could do this every single day. If that's not actually available for you, or you can't do that every day, we would like to say to maybe 3 to 4 times during the week where you take some time and you actually focus on yourself and your self-care routine.
Yeah, yeah, because it starts to become less and less if you continue to like not do it daily. So you do stress daily because then it'll form a new habit, and then it's like, yeah, I should, like, I deserve a little bit of, self-love every day. But to start with, if you can't do daily, don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's like, hey, but I did it for 3 days. That's great, isn't it? And that's the kind of attitude you want. You want to get to daily, but in the meantime, at least 3 to 4 days a week. Okay. So I actually wrote some more things down while we're talking. It's so involved in terms of what you could do for self-care, but we want you to touch on a certain number of key pieces, and then you can decide what you want to take out of that. So I think we're down to 6 now in terms of items that we want you to kind of touch on. And the first is to do something that is going to start your day if possible. And this is why we say, 3 to 4 days a week possibly, but something like journaling, probably want to do that every day. Wake up and do a little bit of journaling, center yourself, focus on the day, reflect on the past day, and it'll really allow you to just bring yourself into the moment. And that helps with a lot of worry and concerns about what to do, because all of a sudden you're just realizing, hey, life's okay. I'm here, and we've got this. And if there are some problems, you can journal them out. And so that will help you get started for the day, and it won't bring it all into anything negative into the day ahead, right? So, and if you can, do meditation at the same time. So that's point number 2, or thing number 2 that you can do. Meditation can be 5 minutes. So if you want to do it before or after the journaling, just take 5 minutes. And meditation, look it up if you'd like, in terms of how technically you want to be accurate with your meditation. But seriously, initially, all you really want to do is become mindful. And so that mindfulness that is achieved by something where you're completely present in the moment. Now, meditation is one way to do it, because you're basically told, don't think about anything and just be present in the moment. And don't do anything, just like that, you're just there for 5 minutes. And it's so hard anyway to do that, right? Because we're always busy thinking of 10 other things. However, by doing this meditation and just forcing yourself for 5 minutes, just sit there, put your fingers together and sit cross-legged if you want to, or just sit with your hands on your lap and just try to not let the whole all the reels,
noise,
the Instagram reels of your mind start working. And if you can just create a calm and stillness, it would be incredible, because then your brain sort of resets. Not that you've lost all your information, but it sort of starts fresh. And so it allows you to then judge as to whether or not you can bring any of the other things that come at you that day into the space, or whether it's no, that's okay, no problem. So it brings you into that Zen-like mode. The next thing is exercise.
Yeah. And exercise can be anything from taking a walk, or to running, or to any other sport that you would like to do, or even yoga. And we like to keep it simple for the purposes of this podcast, because we know that some people aren't able to do extreme sports all the time. But even just going for a 15-minute walk or half an hour walk, doing half an hour of yoga or some stretching in your house, those are easy things that you can get up and do right at, as soon as you're thinking about getting off the computer, right? You don't have to be prepared. You don't have to have equipment. You don't have to get out and drive somewhere. You can just get up and move a bit and move your body. Because when you change your physical movement of your body, then it's changing the flow of energy and the state of your mind. And it's getting you into another, a more of a positive, energetic flow of things. And whenever you get creative mind block or creative block or writer's block, and you're just sitting there on your computer and you're like, what next? What can I do? Or how can I make this better? Getting up and moving and actually switching your brain function to something different will actually help you work on those projects in the subconscious part of your mind. And when you come back to your computer, you'll probably have some more ideas on how to add to the design or make it even better. or see things that you didn't see before. And so exercise is good for your physical state, but also your mental state too.
It's true. I have my yoga mat right next to my chair where I'm working on the computer. It's like, even if it makes it easy for me to just kind of and like the other day, I dropped my yoga mat on the floor and did stuff at 9 o'clock at night. It's like, no, I'm still doing this. And so it's very flexible, and that's probably what you want to do as well.
Yeah.
And that way, it just made me feel better. As soon as I did that for 5-10 minutes, I was like, okay, I'm back to work. Not that I continue to work at 9 o'clock at night, but for that particular situation. But that's what I'm saying, is like, it won't take very long before you do 10-15 minutes of yoga if you want to do half an hour, and you feel recharged and revitalized. And it's like, I can handle whatever comes my way for the rest of the day. And that's what we want for you. Okay, so the next thing is to stick to timelines. So we're on point number 4. So we've done journaling, and we haven't even talked about what you can say in your journal, but let's just leave it at that for today. There's other times where we can go more deeper into
prompts,
journaling and prompts and things like that. But journaling is one, meditation second, exercise of some sort for even if 15 to half an hour, 15 minutes to half an hour a day, and then sticking to your timelines for getting your work done. And this is a huge one because honestly, when you're at home, there's nothing else to stop you from having work just flow into the rest of whatever it is, because you don't have anything else planned.
Or
right?
the opposite, where your work is you're actually choosing to do other things in the house, like laundry or cleaning
you never get around to work.
Cooking, taking care of the kids, homeschooling. There are so many things that can affect your work and life balance, and we want to make sure that you set those schedules and those boundaries, because as you said, you have either version A or version B, and you want a nice happy medium where you're in the middle.
And that the people who, especially what Jen's talking about in terms of the cases of what it is that could distract you, most of those things are people and things that are being asked of you, and so you have to communicate those boundaries to your spouse or your kids, if you're homeschooling, or parents or friends even that text you and stuff, and you say, look, between this and this time, it's my time to not only you can do the self-care, because that's also the thing that gets left out afterwards, right? You might say, oh, I've still got to do my work for my business, but then all of a sudden the self-care is no longer in the picture. All of a sudden something else happens and they take up your time. So you have to communicate without feeling guilty that it's your time to do both the work and the self-care, because you're running a business that could potentially be a multi-million-dollar business. So you want to start this off right, and you want to train all the people around you that this is serious, that you mean business. Okay, the fifth one, that's what I typed in, is connect with family and friends, because you brought up a really great point, that since we're so alone all the time with it's like a solitary business, right? Even if you have family and friends around you that you could be connecting with, you may also, the two things, you may want to connect with some people that actually understand your business, so that you feel really connected to them as well. And that you can talk about stuff, right? Because we need to talk. We need to talk about things to flush things out, or to have someone just you tell them something about what you got as an accomplishment. And some other people who are not in the business may just kind of go, well, that's nice. And you actually feel more hurt about that than you do if they never said anything, because they don't get it. And even though they're friends that you like, and your family members that you love, they're not going to give you that feeling that you need to say, wow, and other people who truly appreciate what that meant to get that result. And so it's really important that you find a community of like-minded entrepreneurs that are going to be able to, speak your language and give you that encouragement and confidence that you, and even just camaraderie that you need as part of all of this business stuff. And that's what the office cooler is for, right? But you're not in the office, you're not going for lunch, having lunch together and talking business / social stuff. And this is what you need as a way for you to validate what you're doing, and also get affirmation of, hey, wow, that was amazing, and so congratulations. And community of that type is really important in terms of people who are in your own the same business as you. And then in addition to that, since it's very lonely, just the physical talking and the mental stimulation of being with your family and friends and talking about something other than business is also so important, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then the last one
we kind of touched on before,
it a little bit.
Setting boundaries for work and personal life.
I kind of skipped over that, didn't I? Because they're sort of together. But like basically, the most important thing is sticking to your timelines so that you get the work done and the self-care done. And then the setting the boundaries is, we can talk a little bit more about it though, like literally setting boundaries in your head as well, because there's many times where we've been, and Jennifer and I are really bad at this because we're in the midst of doing something really fun, nothing to do with business, and all of a sudden we come up with an idea, which is, the coming up with ideas in the shower scenario, right? When you're, as Jen said, like when you're thinking
driving,
of something else, or when you're driving, you're doing something else, and all of a sudden something comes up that you've been struggling with, and you get the answer. And so that's what happens a lot with us, with our business, with our Zazzle businesses, and also with our course and our training businesses, our business for training you guys. But we have to be careful not to then go into like an hour-long discussion on stuff for business while we're doing our self-care thing that we're really excited to have carved out our time for. And so that's really important, that your mind shuts off and gives you a chance to do something other than thinking about business. Just bring a notepad though, or something, or write it on your phone as to what the idea was, but then go, okay, this is my self-care time.
No, it's very, very important, to do that. We are very guilty of that, yes, but we do need to take our own advice too, because it can be very stressful in the end, because you're not actually 100% taking the time to rejuvenate and to relax. And if your brain is always working and always thinking about business, it's very stressful and you're not able to shut off. And as we point, like at the beginning of this whole podcast, we spoke about how you need to be in the proper mental and physical state to bring your A game to your business, because you are your business's biggest asset. And in the end, if you're stressed out, if you're overtired, if you're overworked, if you are nervous, confused, all of the negative emotions that come along with like zero mental health and zero self-care routine, then your business will definitely suffer. And you don't want that because first of all, you're in this to actually create a profitable business, right? And you're creating this business so that you can actually live the dream life that you want to live and have a business that you love. And in the end, if you are overworked and overtired and you're not taking that self-care routine, you're not going to love your business and you're not going to have your dream life. You're going to be stressed out and you're going to be very, very tired. So to make sure that your whole dream life manifests and that you're able to, retire early or have more time freedom or location freedom or financial freedom, like what we speak about and what we basically, that's our whole life and what we talk to our students about, then we need to actually make sure that we're taking little snippets of time freedom and time off for ourselves. It's not about building a business where we're working hundreds and hundreds of hours a week. We have to make sure that we're able to, say, okay, my business will work if I take a couple hours off every single week to go for a nice walk, to journal, to meditate, to have some exercise, to spend some time with family and friends, to spend some time for myself as well. Those things need to be part of your weekly routine and your self-care routine, as well as put into your business routine. They're part of your business because if they aren't, then it will just crash and burn very, very quickly.
And you and your business. And it's not sustainable anyway. And we want you to build a long-term business. Jennifer and I have been in this business for 13 years, actually 14 now, I guess, since it's 2021. And you can't survive that long if you're constantly working on fumes in terms of your gas tank. So you've got to do that. And the point that I love that you just mentioned is you're doing this business in order to create a different life for yourself. So why not start living it? Why not start showing your mental state and your body that, hey, this is the new norm, and it's going to actually involve some structure that's going to allow you to start getting a taste of what that good life is going to be. And that includes the self-care aspect. So you just said it so perfectly. So thank you.
Awesome.
All
Well,
right, so that's the end of it.
Or if you want to recap really quickly, I'm going to scroll up here on your computer. So we
Okay.
want to, why is this successful, or why do you need a self-care routine to become a successful online entrepreneur and thrive being creative and working online through e-commerce and especially on Zazzle?
And I think we covered that
Yeah.
quite well.
And when you have to do it. So we want you to do it daily at least, or
But
3
don't
to 4
beat
times.
yourself up with it, if you don't. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we talked a lot about the things that you can do to implement into your self-care routine. And
And you know what? They're not very hard. Like, 'cause
No.
we didn't tell you to do something really extraordinary. And so maybe you're thinking, oh, well, that wasn't very interesting. And it's like, yes, actually, that's the whole point, is something simple
Yeah.
so that you can do it. But they have huge benefits for you.
So thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Creative and Ambitious Entrepreneur Podcast. And we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye.